Hello, everyone. I'm happy that you were able to wait for me. I know it's the second day and everybody's already tired because the program's so intense and interesting. So that I decided not to have any illustrations, just to talk to you. So I was asked, what is it that architects want? And you might be familiar that recently the rhetoric of our officials have led to architects uniting against the law 5655, where they had a very specific treatment of architects. They didn't even use the word of architects, they just used the word designer or planner even. So basically anybody could design buildings. We understand the structures are of different level of complexity. Of course, a simple handyman can create sheds, but I'm not familiar with any European countries where architects would be so tarnished. Usually they are in great respect. Answering the question of what is it that the architects want, I cannot speak for all, but falling back on my experience, being a practitioner, having my own company and occupying two practical state positions, I might have seen various sides to this question. So I'm just eager to share my considerations. So please take them and understand that they are subjective and objective respectively. Our sphere has used to be called in different way: architecture and construction architecture, then Ministry of Regions. There have been jokes around this, comparing the Ministry of Regions with the Party of Regions, and now it has been done away with and added to the Ministry of Infrastructure, and we jokingly call it the Ministry of Tracks and Asphalt. So I think it's still quite unpleasant. The head of the biggest party in the parliament has given the biggest report on the vicious architects, about how they earn way too much through their projects. And she has shown a project of a kindergarten. And of course, there have been changes by Anna Curie. This was a project by Anna Curie, and it was said that 400,000 hryvnias have been stolen by the architect because of the changes. And so she said, let's introduce the law on typical projects so that we could replicate nurseries and schools and strip architects of copyright, so that such projects could be shared between communities, and that architects, God forbid, don't earn extra couple of thousand hryvnias. We have already been through this cycle. We know that we always refer back to the reign of Khrushchev as the most faceless period, and we're always sorry for people who live in Khrushchev flats. And as of now, when we have the flourishment of private companies, there's not a monopoly of private design institutes. 60% of young architects have found their job in the field of doing private projects of private houses and interior design. And this is very sad, because we need experts for city planning, and we're not ready to navigate these challenges. And I think most of you will agree that love to urban planning is more of your interior passion rather than spiritual passion rather than structured business. And this is the way it works in the world. Some people want to work with private clients and create posh private houses, and other people want to work for the sake of the city. And what is it that they come up against? They come up against a huge regulatory system, and you need to have profound experience to overcome this obstacle. They also see that they are being framed. They are very often ousted by the city or officials or some private players. They don't know when they are going to be ousted, on which stage of design. And in terms of copyright, there's not a single governmental body that would support and protect the architects. Architects are also to blame, because over the 30 years they haven't been able to install the rules. As Sigmund Freud said, that the symptom of a civilization is having agreements. The more agreements, written and oral, you have, the better civilized relationship you have. And it's just now, when the Union of Architects has felt that they are being attacked, they decided to finally write things down and agree upon copyrights, upon different stages of the project, and so on and so forth. In the same way, the architects would like to understand the transparency of the rules, what works how and where. The state offers us a pattern. You need to accept state regulation and construction norms, but this is very limited approach, because the city cannot have 100 limitations if they want. The Ministry of Regions have 3 limitations for residential construction and 2 for others. And if it's going to be a circle or a diamond or a star, this is what the owner of the plot is going to decide, or the planner, and so on. So for the city, it's going to be a huge surprise about what kind of facade is going to be chosen by the landowner, and whether the facade is black or yellow or dotted. It's going to be a surprise. The government explains it in a way that any council or any supervisory meeting is already a negative block, a negative obstacle for the development of business. And the government also said that this is corruption. The 3-5 experts come together. This is already corruption. Okay, let's have a system of checks and balances. Let's have such a committee be elected, or let's have them rotate during half a year or during a year, so that they don't get used to monopoly to certain architectural signature. And of course, there are new architects that come into play and come along with innovations. But aside from this, from my viewpoint, what is it that architects don't want? They don't want the responsibility. I have seen a lot of anonymous projects that went against all the normative rules and regulations and just common sense, because this is what the client wanted. As based in the legislation, the architect, when they see that something is implemented on the construction side against their project, then they are obliged to inform a specific service about it. And when I asked the service whether they ever had a complaint from an architect that their initial project is being violated, how many complaints have there been? 0. Because architects are afraid to lose their job, to lose the trust. So if this law hasn't worked for 30 years, that it needs to be replaced or needs to be changed. So since this is an urban forum, I would like to finish with saying that there are a lot of representatives of the communities, and I want to call upon you to try and be a good client for the architect in terms of transparency, in terms of how the open calls or competitions are organized. If there's a good competition, then and there's a good project, please support such a project. This will give a boost to the development of local architects. This will create a conducive environment. And I know a lot of examples from the EU when the client is most important. Private clients can frame you and underpay you, but not urban clients. And the more choice the architects have between, for instance, taking the designer role for yachts and private houses and so on, or to design public space and other objects of social infrastructure, then the market will be leveled out and you will see what kind of tendencies and passions that people have. So that's it for me, and if there are some ideas from the room, I will be happy to hear them out. But my main message is that architects need to move forward. They need to take on responsibility. And I know for sure what we don't want. We don't want bad projects. We don't want bad clients in the in face of municipalities or the state. And the last of this we have, the last bad project we're going to have.
For you, I've got two questions, and then I'm looking into the audience because you explicitly reached out to them. The first one is, you said about the experience in other countries, where the architects are more protected. Can you make it a little bit more specific? What do you think is the best example? What should be implemented here?
Тут в залі сидить мій близький друг.
I have my friend and teacher, Stefan Banish, here in the room. He has shown to me his projects for the municipality in Germany, and he said, one third of my commissions is from municipality. These are competitions for nurseries, town halls, schools, and so on. And this is his clear stance in the architectural business. And every new school that I have visited, it has struck me with new innovative things. Architects don't stand still. They incorporate new solutions, and I think this is important to have such a flexibility in the market. And the same thing I can see in the Netherlands, where even more time is allocated to discussion of the general discussion and preparation of the project and the plan, which has really impressed me, because usually we're very much limited in time, and fast solutions don't usually yield very good results. So for me, the example is decentralized countries where communities have a lot of powers.
What you just said, it came with me that I know that there's, in a few countries, there is this competition or a prize for the best client. And that could also be interesting. Who is the architect's best client? Which municipality, which developer? That would be a nice idea to put them on stage as well, because that's actually what you propose.
Дуже слушне питання, тому що через те, що цей інститут...
It's a very good question, because this Institute of State and Municipal Projects is so much revolving around fast solution and, even shadow schemes. I'm not talking about Lviv, but we're talking about the entire country now. So, because of this, developers don't tend to have competitions at all. Developers just tend to follow the principle. When the chief architects say, let's have a competition for this, the chief architect of Dnipro told me that a big boss from a developer asked him, will I be obliged to follow what they tell me? And I said yes, and he said, do you think I have bad taste? So, there is a piece of regulation that tells us that we need to have competitions for everything, but we have clean forgotten about it. But another question is whether we have enough resources, human resources, to have open competitions for everything. But should we start following through with this principle, it should also give a push to educational and architectural resources.
If there's somebody who has a specific question for Mr. Chaplinsky.
Всі вже втомлені, або всі погоджуються.
Yes, here you go.
I think people are tired or just they agree.
Окей. Добрий день. Дуже дякую.
Hello. Thank you so much for telling us this story. I have a question. In my personal experience, in terms of communicating with young architects younger than I am, they are afraid to go legal and to work in an open frame. They have no education or training in how to cooperate with municipalities whatsoever. Maybe there's a case or a path how to educate young architects and young specialists in this way. Thank you. It's a very apt question. In all the educational institutions, we lack the discipline of architectural business, how to establish your own company, how to work with the legislation. I know that private schools are offering such courses in advance. I don't know about the quality. I have never participated, but I see that there's a huge demand in this respect, and your question only corroborates this. And the more transparent the cities and municipalities are with their intentions and their competition terms and conditions, the better it is. I'm very happy that Lviv and Anton Kolomeitsev have given a boost with the pace on competitions that we have done, even though not all the competitions have been perfect. And sometimes there have been glitches and there have been some mistakes, but the number of young architects that have entered the market, and the biggest example is Andriy Lysyuk, who was extremely young, and he has won the competition for designing the project for the memorial of the Heavenly 100, but he was young and he was persevering, and there's a lot of young architects that have a fresh view, and the city also needs fresh blood. So the more often the city is clear and transparent with their intention, the easier it will be for you to enter this market. I have a very private personal question, but very important. Is urbanism a part of architecture or vice versa? Yes.
Я вам скажу так, що чим відрізняється...
What I'm going to say, how is architect different from an urbanist? Architect is going to draw, an urbanist is going to say, clean here, scratch up here, you don't need to draw anything. So urban planner for today is for sure not an architect. This is based on my experience for today.
Thank you so much, Julian Chaplinsky.